So I checked out that movie Materialists. Now I knew nothing really going into this movie. I will say for people who are interested or say to check out this movie, just know it's not a romantic comedy, it's a romantic drama. Now when it comes to my thoughts on this movie, let me start with the positives. I think the idea is interesting because I do think it's true in the world today where when it comes to dating, people are, I'm not saying everybody is, but I think there's a lot of people that are more interested in the superficial things when it comes to somebody, when it comes to like how much money they're making or what's still, like what's their living situation and how tall they are, what type of job security do they have, how they dressed, like superficial things at times where people with dating today work with someone with like the superficial kind of the things that aren't really that don't really show you who the person is as a person. So I do think that's an interesting concept for a romantic drama movie because I do think it's true today in this day and age where like I said, people are more not everybody, but some people are more interested in superficial things. So I think the concept is actually interesting. I think Peter Pascal, who is in a lot of movies this year, I noticed. I think he gives a charming performance. Like I will say this: his character isn't the most compelling in the world to me, but I do buy him as like this nice, good guy who I think Dakota Johnson's character refers to him in the dating world as the unicorn, the perfect person. He does a good job of playing that type of character. Like so I do think overall he gives a good, charming performance in this movie. But at the same time, his character is not the most compelling in the world to me. But I think he's good in the movie performance wise. When it comes to the negatives of this movie, I think Dakota Johnson is just kind of flat in this movie for me. She gives like a just kind of like a whatever performance for me in this movie, and her character is like not very likable to me in this movie personally. Like I never found myself really caring about her character or feeling all that invested in her character. And her character just isn't the most compelling in the world to me. Like she's just at times really unlikable and just not very interesting character wise to me. And when it comes to Chris Evans, where he plays her ex boyfriend, who's his character is kind of a struggling actor, I didn't buy that with Chris Evans in this movie personally. When I look at Chris Evans, I'm like, him playing a character who's like a struggling actor, I just didn't buy into it. And I'll be honest, I didn't really buy the chemistry between anybody in this movie. I like with Helen Peter Pascal, I didn't really buy into it. With Helen Chris Evans, I didn't really buy into it. And I wouldn't say there's really I don't think this movie has a big emphasis when it comes to a love triangle. When it comes to Helen and Chris Evans and Helen Peter Pascal. Like I wouldn't say this movie has like a love triangle in this movie, but I just never really bought into like hook chemistry with either of the two actors or the relationships in this movie. So, like the characters, you know, aren't the most compelling to me. I never found myself really invested in either relationship, and were invested in the characters. And the way the story is executed in this movie is just like the idea is interesting, but it's just I never found myself really engaged with the story in this movie. Like there was one part of the story that I that I actually went like, oh, this is where it gets really serious. So I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that could happen in the real world where Dakota Johnson kid who's a matchmaker in this movie, she sets up this one of our clients with this guy and found out he's a jackass. That he's like beating her, and she gets mad at her client gets mad at her for setting up with a guy who's a bad guy. And I was like, I did feel bad for the woman in that movie because I was like, yeah, like you never know in this world when it comes to how who people are really when you get to know them. And I do think there's some like interesting stuff there when it comes to, I guess you could say, like with Julia Johnson's character, where she didn't do enough like research on who this guy actually is, which again deals with the thing that I think is an interesting concept, which is that people, you know, people are so concerned with like the superficial things with somebody in dating today, and not so much with who the person is on the inside and who and what the personality are when you get to really know the person. So I thought that side was really interesting. Like I like that side of the story and the concept. Like I said, I think the concept is really interesting to explore. It's just it's done in a way in this movie where I never found myself engaged with the story with characters. And the choice Dakota Johnson makes at the end with the two guys, the guys she picks at them, which she because you have Peter Pastel and Chris Evans, she decides to go for ex-boyfriend Chris Evans. I feel like that choice didn't make sense with who her character was in this movie. The ending was like the guy she picks at the end. I was like, I don't feel like that makes really sensible line up with who her character is throughout the movie. So I wasn't really a fan of the ending of this movie either. So it's a movie where I'm like, interesting concept. I think Peter Pastel gives a good enough charming performance, but the characters just never really water. And I never found myself really caring or feeling invested in any of the characters. So overall, when it comes to Materialists, I was only a fan of this movie personally. The concept is interesting, but the execution, I felt like wasn't done all that well in this movie. So I can't say I would recommend this movie, but I would also say this. This movie's getting positive reviews, so I would say check it out for yourself. Like if you were interested or excited, check out Materials. I would say watch the movie yourself because you might enjoy a lot of the movie. For me, this movie didn't really do it for me. So that's my thoughts on Materials. Until next time, movie fans.